right, everybody, welcome back. 1776 or bust. And on the table, you see my just beautiful, just absolutely beautiful collection of CZ75 variants. So on the left, you see the Phantom. Right in the middle here, you see my P01 non-Omega, the P01 Omega, and of course the PCR. So these are my CZs. These are the guns that I, for whatever reason, have grown to love so much. But I think it's more or less because they're just fantastic handguns overall. And I've had nothing but good experiences with all of them. This one is kind of the newer one. This time I'm actually keeping it. I'm not going to get rid of it because it's just really such a nice gun. You know, this is my favorite polymer hammer-fired CZ they make, more so than a P09 or even, for that matter, a P07. Just not a big fan of the Omega trigger, but again, each to their own. So this video today is actually going to be about a company that I was just made aware of not too long ago. The company itself, if I can find what I'm looking for here on my table. There you go. My table's a disaster. Oh, well. But it's from a company who sent me that sticker and also this sticker. And it's a company called M-Carbo. Now, M-Carbo is one of these companies that, honestly, guys, I've never heard of. Somebody on one of my live chats actually made mention that they had a P07 and they put the M-Carbo spring kit in, and it's been a dream ever since. So I had never heard of it. So I said, what the hell? Let me try it out. Let me see what it's about. Let me look into the company a little bit and find out what I can find out about it and then see if I wanted to buy something. So I decided to go ahead and buy this. I bought two of these. Now, this is their CZ75 trigger spring kit. Now, this comes with multiple parts to it. And there's a couple of pros and a couple of cons, depending on how you look at it. I will say that their installation video that they have is actually very good, with one little issue, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And in the spring kit, it comes with a hammer spring. It comes with a plunger spring, a striker spring, a sear spring, and also a trigger spring as well. And it also comes with this little metal bar that's there. And I'm scrolling down to make sure I give you guys the right pieces here. So it comes with the hammer spring, the firing pin block spring, the sear spring, the trigger return spring, and the pin retaining pin. Firing pin retaining pin. That's the word I'm looking for. And it's really nice. Like, a lot of the stuff they have is actually really good with the kit. Now, you'll notice I kept all my old springs in here. One of them is actually a Beretta spring, which is kind of funny because it looks exactly like the others. But I have to say the installation went well. I definitely could say that it could have gone a little bit better for one little issue that I had. But one of the things I wanted to show you was the firing pin retention pin on the Phantom that I switched out. And the one that they use, I want to give you what they say is their actual specifics about it. And hopefully I can find that. I don't know if I can. I want to see if I want to make sure I give you guys the exact information from their website so that if you choose to go this route, you guys can do it. And let's see. It is a heavy duty firing pin retaining pin. Now, this is the one that came with the Phantom. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, hopefully, but you'll notice that it's wearing down a little bit. And supposedly with the heavy duty one, you're not going to have this problem anymore. Now, most people are not going to be aware of this until they actually take this pin out or until it breaks. But you can see there's a lot of wear on it. And this gun, this Phantom that I have, was barely fired. And on top of that, it's fairly young. It's not a very old model in regards to when it was actually produced. So from that, I was like, well, I'm glad they gave us that pin because on other kits, you don't necessarily get that. So to me, that was kind of a bonus. Now, the overall price on the kit is $20 with $5 shipping and handling. So $25, and that's it. And it comes with all those little goodies. Now, in regards to the installation, what did I find? Well, like I said, their installation video was very well done. I believe it's the owner of the company who installs it on his, I think it's a 75 compact. So it's a safety-only model. Now, I did not put it in this. I actually put it in the PCR. So I'm going to move these to the side for now. But I put it in the PCR first. And what can I tell you about the installation? Well, first off, the video is very good. However, there is one small little difference. On their video, they do a safety only. I have a decocker. So there's a little bit of a difference here. Now, everything else is exactly the way they say it in regards to the installation. I mean, the hammer spring is easy to do. It's easy enough to do. The trigger spring is actually fairly simple too. It's a very straightforward process. I didn't have any difficulty doing that in this at all. Again, the striker spring and the plunger spring, easy enough. Pop this pin out, take everything out, put the new springs in, put them all back in the way they're supposed to go, and then drop this pin back in. So again, very straightforward, no real issues in regards to having any problems. However, the problem with this came when I decided to do the sear spring, because that changed my mind on how much I loved CZs for those 2 hours it took me to get everything back together again. So let me explain why that is. Now, I'm going to say this has nothing to do necessarily with M-Carbo at all. However, what you have to realize is that because this is a decocker model, you're not going to have the same setup as they have on their website in regards to the video. So when you pull the decocker off, which is, again, fairly simple, you just have to pull the sear up, and then you basically just push this out, and it allows the decocker to go out, no problem. However, the problem is that there's another pin underneath the decocker. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but right there, there's another pin, and there's a little circular disc that goes over that pin. And you have to remove the circular disc. You have to punch the pin out, but the pin goes from left to right. So as you begin to push the pin out, it doesn't come with a slave pin or anything like that, which I think is really the last thing that would be necessary for this kit to be even more functional, especially for decocker models. So just keep that in mind. If you have a slave pin, I would use it, because I actually had to make one, and that's how I was able to get everything back together again. Now, what occurred was when I decided to take out the pin, one of the things that happened was all of the parts in the sear cage began to move. The springs were falling out. The decocking lever fell out. I mean, it was just a mess. So from there, my nightmare began, because I had to put everything back together again. And let me tell you something, that sear cage, man, it's like a horror show. I'm not going to lie to you. If you guys have experience with that, maybe you had a better experience than I did, but I absolutely do not want to ever do that again because of that fact. It was a pain in the ass, and it took me almost 2 hours to get it back together again. Again, it's my first time ever doing it, so that might have been the reason, but nonetheless, it was very difficult to get it back installed. However, after a couple of hours and about 7,000 F-bombs being thrown, I was able to get everything back together again, and I was very thankful for that. Now, in regards to the CZ75 Phantom, again, this is a little bit different too, because the Phantom does not have the same internals as, let's say, the other 75s. So you can pop the decocking pin off and you don't have any other pins. However, the trigger assembly and the sear cage are all one piece. So when you pop the pin here and you pop the trigger assembly pin as well, you can pull everything out. Now, I didn't want to go through what I went through with this, so I installed every part on here with the exception of the sear spring. I just didn't want to go through that again. Again, you know, if somebody has this, I can't tell you what to do, but I would certainly tell you, take your time, make sure that you know what you're doing. And I mean, don't get too frustrated, because your levels of frustration may go up, because mine certainly did. However, I was successful. You know, it took a lot of time, but again, first time doing it, you got to learn from someplace, right? So more importantly, what are my thoughts about it? Well, obviously I have the other two CZs here on the right-hand side, and my P01 I love, and the Omega is just as good as well. They're very, very solid handguns. They're just amazing handguns. They're built very well, and I just love shooting them. I love carrying them. I love shooting them. These two guns here have Cajun Gunwork kits in them. So I'm just going to say it right now. This is $25. The kit that I got from Cajun is, I think, $27 and change, or maybe even $28, or maybe it's $25. I think it's $25 also. So they're the same price. But one of the things that always got me about this, in regards to Cajun, is that you didn't get anything else. You just got the hammer spring, the plunger spring, and the striker spring, and that's it for $25. On the other end, you got M-Carbo that's sending you out the other springs for the same exact price. So for me, I look at it from the standpoint of, what am I going to get for my dollar? And M-Carbo right now, to me, it's got a better kit because of the price. Now, of course, some will say, well, how could you say that? You know, nobody's heard of them, or maybe they're not that big of a popular company like Cajun Gunworks is. And don't get me wrong, Cajun does great stuff, no doubt about it. But for the price, I would really just rather go with this at this point, because even though I didn't see the differences that they advertise on their website, they are saying, and I'm going to scroll down so I can see it, but it says it'll reduce your CZ75 trigger pull from a stock double action 9 to 11 pound to a modified 5 pounds, and a stock single action of 4 pounds to a modified 2 pound trigger. I did not see that. Okay. However, could that be the difference between a safety only and a decocker? Possibly. However, did the pounded poundage in both of these decrease? Yes. Is it any less than, let's say, these two? It's fairly close, guys. It's a very, very small difference between the two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do both, and I'm going to show you both. So I'm going to start off with these two, and I'm going to try and show you what the double action at half cocked is, because again, that's the way I would carry the gun. So I'm not going to sit here and do fully decocked or double action. And all guns are cleared. So here's my first double action pull on the PCR. So I have right now 7 pounds, 11.2 ounces, and I'm going to do each one twice. 7 pounds, 14.4 ounces. So it's a fairly regular double action. And the average is, if I can get it to work, 7 pounds, 12.8 ounces. So it's about 7 pounds. Yeah, it's over 7.5 pounds. But at the same time, the take up is very nice. It's very smooth. You can definitely feel that the trigger and the hammer are working much, much smoother than it was than stock. So that's a good thing. Now, in regards to the P01 Omega, again, this has the basic 3-spring kit inside. And we'll do that. 7 pounds, 2.8 ounces. 7 pounds, 8.6 ounces for a total of 7 pounds, 5.7 ounces. So you can see there is, in my opinion, a pretty good difference between the two here. But is it that significant? I mean, honestly, on both trigger pulls, I would say the Omega has a little bit of a smoother trigger pull. But I wonder if it has to do more with the trigger shape than actually with anything else. Obviously, there are some advantages with that smooth or the flat face trigger versus a curved trigger, albeit I like the curved trigger better. However, I would say that both triggers feel fairly good. I don't really notice I don't really feel a huge difference between the two. Obviously, the numbers don't lie, so to speak. However, I don't necessarily feel it as a significant difference. Now, let's look at the single actions here. So here's the single action on the PCR. First one, 3 pounds, 5.4 ounces. So that is a fairly good single action. I don't think anybody would deny that for sure. 3 pounds, 12.3 ounces, probably a little bit lighter. That might have been my issue there on that one. So you're looking at 3 pounds, 8.9 ounces. So again, a very nice single action trigger. So let's look at the Omega. 3 pounds, 0.7. So it's almost a flat 3 pounds. 2 pounds, 14.4 ounces for a total of 2 pounds, 15.5 ounces, or 15.5 ounces, I should say. So again, a little bit lighter. Honestly, guys, I'm going to say it has more to do with the trigger shape just being a little bit easier, at least just the way it's hooked on here. Again, I could be wrong. You guys let me know. Probably wrong. Now let's look at the Omega, or the non-Omega P01 versus the Phantom. And again, all guns are cleared and checked. So we're going to put them in half cock position again. And we're going to start with my Omega, or non-Omega P01. 7 pounds, 3.4 ounces. 7 pounds, 12.1 ounces. Again, maybe my little extra pull on the end. 7 pounds, 7.8 ounces. So again, it's a little bit less than, let's say, the PCR. You know, not by much. So again, it could be something to do with the trigger shape. Again, I could be totally wrong on that. So let's look at the Phantom. 8 pounds, 3.4 ounces. Whoops. 7 pounds, 11.8 ounces for a total of 7 pounds, 15.6 ounces. So again, very similar to what you saw on the PCR. Single actions on both. We'll start with the Phantom. Phantom 3 pounds, 4.1 ounces, which is kind of funny because there is no sear spring in this, or at least not the upgraded one. 3 pounds, 8.5 ounces for a total of, or an average of 3 pounds, 6.3 ounces on the Phantom. So again, very nice 3 pound trigger. And let's see the P01 non-Omega. 2 pounds, 14.8 ounces. 3 pounds, 2.9 ounces for a total of 3 pounds, 0.9 ounces. So, you know, there definitely is a difference between the two. You know, M-Carbo, maybe not as light. However, I will tell you, this only has about like 200 rounds maybe through it at best. I don't even think it has that much. So it's a fairly new gun. The other two you see here, the Phantom, or excuse me, the P01 Omega and non-Omega, much more shot than these two actually. So I would not necessarily say that there's a significant difference between the two rates based on the numbers and based on the fact that, you know, the other two that I showed you here have been shot much more than these two. Again, time is going to tell. I've got to take these to the range. I've got to shoot them, and I've got to make sure that they're functional as is. But I'd like to hear what you have to say. You know, do you think that the M-Carbo is worth having? And have you seen the same results as me with the decocker models versus the safety models? Again, would you rather go CGW or would you rather go M-Carbo? Why? Which one? That sort of thing. I'd love to hear what you have to say. For me, I would still probably go with these because I'm getting very good readings on the gauge. On top of that, I really do like the fact that I'm getting more for my money in regards to these versus the Cajun. However, at the end of the day, they both make really good stuff and stuff that's worth it. So again, leave some comments down below. Love to hear what you have to say. Hope you guys have a great night. Stay safe. And as always, everyone, freedom is never free.